Kane reconnects with Traci. According to The Young and the Restless spoilers for Monday, September 22, 2025, Tessa opens up to Daniel, Billy makes a shocking threat, and Kane reconnects with Traci. What follows on The Young and the Maybe Traci can make Kane not want to take over the world on The Young and the Restless. Image, JPI. Kane has been lining up his professional allies as he schemes to take over several businesses in Genoa City. On Monday's show, watch for Kane to potentially make a personal connection when he reconnects with Traci Abbott. Y&R fans know there's a connection between Traci and Kane's life and family with Lily. Matty and Charlie, Kane and Lily's children, have Traci as their godmother. Traci's late daughter Colleen, Tamin Sursok, was Lily's best friend. Lily maintained their friendship after Colleen's death by making Traci the godmother of her children. Might Kane use Traci to help him re-win Lily's heart? If Lily is going to listen to anyone, it's going to be Traci, taking a chance. On The Young and the Restless, Billy may be going overboard. Image courtesy of JPI. Billy has fallen off the wagon and is full gambling mode again. He's pushing away the woman he loves, Sally, his brother, Jack, and his ex-wife, Vicky. Even if he wins in his plan to get Chancellor back and secure independent financing for Abbott Communications, will Billy truly win if he's lost the people he loves? On Monday's show, watch for Billy to make a shocking threat. Is he going to alienate even more people from his life? Will his careless actions have a direct impact on his children, Katie and Johnny? Will he try to take over Kane's train? Tune in to find out. Three's a crowd. Is Tessa, Kate Fairbanks, going to tell Daniel something that will make him happy on The Young and the Restless? Image, JPI. Tessa is unaware of Daniel's conversations with both his father, Danny, and Mariah. The budding guitarist talked to his dad about his developing feelings for Tessa. He spoke to Mariah about keeping an eye on Tessa while she's out of town. On Monday's show, watch for Tessa to open up to Daniel. Tessa's been leaning on her student in between lessons while they talk about life, love, and loss, especially as to how it relates to Tessa's troubles with Mariah. Will Tessa let Daniel know that she has feelings for him? Or is she going to share her thoughts about another topic? Kane reconnects with Traci, the unexpected heartbeat of Genoa City. When the new week begins in Genoa City, the atmosphere carries with it an odd blend of danger, nostalgia, and cautious hope. Kane Ashby is at the center of it all. His presence in the city always seems to be accompanied by both calculated ambition and deeply buried hurt. Kane has been sharpening his professional claws, aligning himself with strategic allies, manipulating situations to create opportunities, and quietly building a scaffolding for what looks to be a massive corporate takeover. For viewers who know Kane's history, this isn't shocking. He's always had one foot in the legitimate world and another hovering dangerously close to manipulation and scheming. Yet, on Monday's episode, something far different takes shape. Kane crosses paths with Traci Abbott, and the Reconnect ion might be the pivot point that changes the entire course of his story. Traci, unlike many in Genoa City, does not live her life fueled by greed, vengeance, or the endless desire for power. She has always been the conscience, the stabilizing force, and the sympathetic heart of the Abbott family, which frequently descends into rivalry and chaos. In many ways, her story has always been about resilience, losing Colleen, facing heartbreak after heartbreak, and yet continuing to offer unconditional love to those who need it. This meeting with Kane becomes more than just a casual catch-up. It taps into their history, their shared emotional ties, and the lingering ghost of Colleen's friendship with Lily. It also acknowledges Traci's role as the godmother to Kane and Lily's children, Matty and Charlie, reminding the audience that family connections in Genoa City run deeper than blood and often resurface when least expected. The writers have cleverly positioned this reunion at a time when Kane is wrestling with loneliness, ambition, and the hollow echo of his fractured family life. He may be pushing himself toward financial dominance, but what Kane lacks, and what Traci instinctively offers, is emotional grounding. Fans can already sense the undercurrent. Is Kane subconsciously hoping that Traci might be the bridge that leads him back to Lily? After all, if Lily is going to be persuaded to soften her heart, to look past Kane's checkered mistakes, it would be through the gentle urging of someone she loves and trusts. And no one fits that bill more perfectly than Traci Abbott. Billy's threat, the destructive spiral. If Kane's storyline on Monday is about Reconnect Ion and redemption, Billy Abbott's arc is a study in unraveling self-destruction. Billy has always been volatile, his charm matched only by his capacity to sabotage himself and those around him. The episode reveals that he has slipped back into old, dangerous habits, fully immersed in gambling mode, and once again alienating the people who love him most. Sally is at her wit's end, unable to watch the man she loves spiral further into recklessness. Jack, ever the supportive brother, finds himself helpless as Billy pushes him away. Victoria, who has seen this destructive cycle repeat itself time and time again, recognizes the danger but knows that intervening often makes matters worse. But what really shakes the ground on Monday is Billy making a shocking threat. The exact words of the threat are being teased, but the possibilities hang heavy in the air. Will he threaten Kane directly, as their rivalry grows more heated? Will he lash out at Jack, sabotaging the fragile Abbott family bonds? Or will his reckless anger spill into something that could directly affect his children, Johnny and Katie, leaving viewers horrified by the ripple effects of his gambling relapse? This is not just about financial ruin or reputation. Billy's choices at this moment stand to determine whether he remains a functional father or loses the trust of the very people he claims to love. And yet, in true Billy fashion, there is an underlying tragedy in his self-destruction. His obsession with outmaneuvering Kane, his desperate attempt to reclaim Chancellor, and his pursuit of regaining Chancellor all suggest that he is attempting to fill a void that no amount of success can truly fill. The threat he makes could either be the point of no return or a dramatic wake-up call. For fans, the tension is unbearable. Is Billy spiraling toward his worst mistake yet, or will someone be able to step in before his recklessness sets fire to every relationship around him? Tessa and Daniel, an emotional confession waiting to happen. Amid the high-stakes scheming of Kane and the dangerous spiraling of Billy, another storyline blooms quietly but powerfully: Tessa's emotional connection with Daniel. At first glance, this seems like a far more subdued arc, but the layers reveal themselves as the conversations deepen. Tessa, always artistic, always wrestling with vulnerability, finds herself unexpectedly leaning on Daniel. Their relationship begins innocently enough through her lessons, but soon evolves into something more intimate: conversations about life, love, and the shadows of loss. What makes this dynamic so charged is the timing. Daniel has been speaking to his father, Danny, about his budding feelings for Tessa, and he has also confided in Mariah about his protective watch over Tessa while she's away. Unbeknownst to Tessa, her presence in Daniel's life is already a subject of speculation and hope among those closest to him. On Monday, the tension builds as Tessa finally opens up to Daniel. But what will she say? Given her complicated relationship with Mariah, will she take the chance of admitting that she feels something other than friendship, a glint of attraction that could destabilize her world? Or will she instead confess something more indirect: her fears, her struggles, her longing for connection, that leaves Daniel interpreting her words as something far deeper? The beauty of this arc lies in its ambiguity. Soap fans thrive on the will they want they suspense, and Tessa and Daniel's slow-burn connection is poised to ignite debates across the fandom. Is this the beginning of a love triangle that threatens to shatter Tessa and Mariah's relationship? Or is it a storyline about friendship, mentorship, and emotional growth that challenges both characters in unexpected ways? Either way, Monday's episode makes it clear that Tessa and Daniel's bond is more than surface level, and it's heading toward a revelation that will reverberate throughout Genoa City. The emotional chessboard of Genoa City. What ties these storylines together is the theme of emotional risk. Kane risks vulnerability by reconnecting with Traci, potentially exposing himself to hope and rejection in equal measure. Billy risks everything: his family, his legacy, and his dignity, by lashing out in the throes of addiction and reckless ambition. Tessa risks her heart, her stability, and perhaps her relationship with Mariah by opening up to Daniel. Each of these arcs reminds viewers why The Young and the Restless has endured for decades. It thrives on the collision between personal vulnerability and the unforgiving machinery of ambition, addiction, and desire. Fans watching Monday's episode are not just tuning in for shocking twists but for the emotional resonance that lies beneath them. Kane's potential redemption, Billy's destructive spiral, and Tessa's emotional confession are three threads that weave together into a larger tapestry about what it means to seek connection, to risk everything for love or ambition, and to face the consequences of choices that cannot be undone. And so, as the credits roll on Monday's episode, the audience is left not with tidy resolutions but with questions that will fuel debates, predictions, and anxieties until the next episode. Will Traci succeed in pulling Kane away from the dark path he's on? Will Billy's threat mark the beginning of his downfall, or a desperate cry for help? And will Tessa's words to Daniel spark the beginning of something new, or the unraveling of something cherished? One thing is certain, in Genoa City, nothing ever stays still for long. Kane and Traci, a second chance at meaning. The reconnect ion between Kane and Traci does not happen in some grand, orchestrated way, but rather with the quiet inevitability that often marks the most important turning points in life. Kane walks into the Abbott home under the guise of business, something to do with the intersecting interests between Jabot, Chancellor, and the corporate shell companies he's been quietly building. But beneath the smooth-talking exterior, there's another reason he finds himself at the Abbott estate, an unspoken need for stability, for a reminder of the parts of himself he hasn't completely destroyed. And Traci, as if she's been waiting all along, greets him not with suspicion or cynicism, but with warmth. It's the kind of moment that instantly shifts Kane's posture. The armor, so carefully polished to hide the loneliness beneath, suddenly feels heavy. Traci reminds him of a different time in his life, when Lily was by his side, when the children were still young and looking up to him with unshakable trust. The memory of Colleen comes up almost unbidden, how her life was cut short, how Lily and Traci's bond was sealed by that tragedy, and how Kane became a part of that circle almost by accident, only to lose it when his marriage fell apart. Kane feels like every word Traci says keeps him from falling into whatever abyss he was planning to dive into. The conversation flows easily, as it always does with Traci. She listens without judgment, offering small observations that feel more piercing than any lecture could. She simply inquires if the projects Kane has been working on make him proud when he admits to being busy working on projects. She does not press him for specifics. And in that single question, Kane feels the floor shift beneath him. Pride has been in short supply lately. Accomplishments? Sure. Deals? Yes. But pride, the kind that fills your chest with the certainty that you've done something meaningful, that's something Kane hasn't felt in years. Viewers watching this scene won't miss the subtext. Traci has always been positioned as the Abbott family's moral compass, but here she functions as more, a potential savior for Kane, who might otherwise march himself toward destruction disguised as success. A seed is planted when she sees him not only as a con artist and Lily's ex, but also as a man who still has the potential for redemption. And the audience begins to wonder, could this be the start of something more profound? Not necessarily romance, those soaps thrive on unexpected pairings, but perhaps a bond that reshapes both of their futures. Billy's threat, the earthquake before the collapse. While Kane finds himself momentarily softened by Traci's influence, Billy moves in the opposite direction, tearing deeper into chaos. Monday's episode is teased as the one where Billy makes a shocking threat, and the setup is deliberate. His relapse into gambling is now more about control, or at least the appearance of control, rather than just the thrill of risk. He's lost control of his personal life, distanced himself from Sally, clashed with Jack, and left Victoria exasperated. But for a brief moment, he feels like a king once more in the gambling world. The problem is that kings in Genoa City never last long, and Billy knows it. His desperation pushes him toward bold declarations, and that's where the threat emerges. Some speculate it could be directed at Kane, an ultimatum tied to their competing business interests, perhaps even a reckless vow to take him down by any means necessary. As Billy struggles to secure financing for Abbott Communications and Chancellor, others believe the threat will strike closer to home, aiming at Jack or even Victor. But no matter where the words land, the intent behind them is clear. Billy is burning bridges faster than he can build them, and each new threat carves him deeper into isolation. Soap fans who know Billy's history understand the tragedy here. He has always been his own worst enemy, destroying happiness whenever it seems possible to do so. His love for Sally should be enough to ground him, but addiction is never so simple. His devotion to his children should anchor him, but desperation has a way of clouding even the most fundamental priorities. When Billy lashes out on Monday, the heartbreak isn't in the words themselves, but in the way everyone around him will respond, with fear, disappointment, and the painful acknowledgement that they've been here before. The real question, though, is what comes next. A threat is only as powerful as the follow-through, and Billy's follow-through has always been unpredictable. Could he drag Chancellor into chaos with a reckless bid for power? Could his words push Sally away for good, shattering the fragile relationship they've built? Or could his threat, however shocking, serve as a desperate cry for help, a subconscious plea for someone to save him from himself? Billy's storyline is both frustrating and addictive due to its unpredictability. The silent storm, Tessa's confession. While Kane and Billy dominate the corporate and personal wars of Genoa City, Tessa's storyline unfolds with an intimacy that feels almost out of place, and yet, in its quietness, it may become the most explosive of all. On Monday, she sits with Daniel, her student, her friend, her unexpected confidant. Their conversations have already carried them into deep waters: grief, music, lost dreams, and the fragile architecture of love. However, the time has come for Tessa to reveal herself in a way that has the potential to alter everything. Her words begin innocently enough, circling around her difficulties with Mariah, the distance that has grown between them, the way absence magnifies doubts. Daniel listens with the kind of attentiveness that makes her feel heard in a way she hasn't for some time. That's where the danger lies. Because what initially serves as a safe haven for vulnerability quickly evolves into something significantly more explosive. Tessa doesn't necessarily say, "I have feelings for you." She doesn't need to. Her eyes linger just a little bit too long as she feels the emotion linger in the air, unspoken but undeniable, and Daniel's silence feels heavier than words. For fans, this is the thrill of the soap opera slow burn. The ambiguity is the point. Some will interpret Tessa's confession as the beginning of an emotional affair, the seeds of a betrayal that could devastate Mariah when it comes to light. Others will see it as a moment of catharsis, a chance for Tessa to express the insecurities she can't quite bring herself to tell Mariah directly. Either way, the ripple effects are inevitable. Daniel, already caught between his father's advice and his own heart, is now faced with a choice: maintain the boundary of friendship, or cross into territory that could redefine his life. Genoa City at a crossroads. With these three storylines unfolding simultaneously, Monday's episode feels like a crossroads for Genoa City. Kane, standing on the precipice of either redemption or deeper scheming, is pulled toward the light by Traci's influence. Billy is on the verge of collapse and is threatening to bring everyone with him. And Tessa, in her quiet moment of confession, may set off a chain reaction that no one sees coming. What unites these threads is the theme of choice. Soap operas thrive on fate, on accidents and twists of timing, but at their core, they are about choices that define characters, relationships, and the very fabric of the community. Kane must decide whether to let Traci's compassion soften him or ignore it in pursuit of power. Billy must decide whether to heed the warning signs of his own self-destruction or charge forward into ruin. Tessa must decide whether to lean into her connection with Daniel or recommit herself fully to Mariah. For viewers, this is where the emotional investment pays off. The beauty of The Young and the Restless is not just in the shocking reveals, but in the emotional realism of watching flawed characters make choices that feel painfully human. Because at the heart of every corporate takeover, every shocking threat, and every whispered confession is the same truth: people want to be loved, to be seen, to be understood. And it is in the pursuit of those desires that drama, heartbreak, and redemption are born. Looking ahead. Fans are already anticipating the next episode as the episode that aired on Monday set the stage. Will Traci become the unlikely hero who pulls Kane back from the brink? Will Billy's threat become the spark that ignites a war between the Abbotts and the Newmans, or will it simply isolate him further? And will Tessa and Daniel's connection evolve into the scandalous love triangle that could dominate the fall storyline? No matter how it plays out, one thing is certain: Genoa City is on the verge of transformation. Relationships will be tested, alliances will be broken, and new bonds will form in the unlikeliest of places. That is the magic of The Young and the Restless, the reminder that in a world where ambition, addiction, and secrets run rampant, the simplest connections can change everything.